Hello, I'm Stephanie.
And I'm Lauren.
And this is I've Got Guts, a podcast about living and thriving with chronic illness. Let's be real, it is really hard.
But it doesn't have to be. You are not alone.
With this podcast, we want to create a community and a space to be able to talk about the tough stuff
And laugh along the way.
The idea for this podcast stemmed from us trying to find one for ourselves to listen to, but not being able to find anything that didn't make us more sad or frustrated.
Our goal is to talk about the hard stuff, but also talk about how to get through it, be positive, have a full, productive life, and thrive.
But before we get started, just so we are clear, we are not medical professionals. We are just here sharing our personal experiences.
All right, here we go.
Here we go.
Kicking off the episode with some thorns and roses.
Yeah.
Okay, you're going first with thorns because I haven't heard this thorn story yet, and I'm really excited to hear it.
Yeah. This one's a doozy. So for anyone who's not caught up, I'm currently undergoing fertility treatment, and I'm on hormones. So I'm not doing great mentally, you know.
Hormones are a crazy thing, especially when you're just off and it's not the normal, regular PMS hormones
just
like that.
Keep that in mind that I'm at like the elevated hormone level for all the women who are listening. I'm at the PMS stage. So I'm at the everything's making me angry stage. So that's where I'm at. Also, I still haven't had an iron infusion, so I just don't feel good. So Anthony goes to pick up my prescription for famotidine the other night. So I still have GERD, even though I had surgery to fix it because that doctor messed everything up.
Right.
So I'm still on heartburn medicine. So I take heartburn medicine, which, you know, we talked a few episodes back about how they tried to deny my heartburn medicine and make me go through the process of taking all new heartburn medicines again, and I resolved that. But I also take famotidine on top of it, which is just Pepcid AC. I just get a prescription for it. They give me 90 pills at a time. You know?
And it's a lot cheaper that way than getting it over the counter.
Yeah. So Anthony goes to pick it up, and they're like, oh, your insurance won't cover this. And he was like, what? He's like, what do you mean you won't cover it? He's like, it needs a prior auth. And they're like, no, they don't cover it. What? So he calls them the next day, and they're like, yeah, we don't cover it. And then they send him this crazy form where they want my doctor to fill out saying that I've tried every alternative and what the difference was. And I said to Anthony, here's the deal. I tried all the other medicines with like 17 different doctors. Like, she's not going to have that information. She would have to dig so far back in my charts, and the doctors I had when I tried those things, they sucked. So I don't know if they documented things properly. I could tell you why those medicines didn't work and what happened, but I don't know if my doctor can.
Right. This was so long ago.
And I've been on famotidine since 2021, right?
Okay, and now we're in 2025 and they're questioning covering this.
So Anthony's fired up, and I go, I'm even more fired up. Let me call them.
Oh, no.
So I call them, and I was like, can you please explain to me why you won't cover famotidine? And she's like, let me look it up. She goes, well, it says here that you're on 20 milligrams. We cover 40 milligrams. I was like, wait a minute. Excuse me, back up. So you're saying you'll cover a higher dose of the medicine, but you won't cover the lower dose?
Okay, that doesn't even make any sense.
So she's like, yeah, that's what it says here. I go, what? And so instead of getting angry, I actually started to cry. And I said, I have a rare, debilitating disorder that has taken me years to find medicines that work for me. You guys have done this to me before. I was like, a couple months ago, you denied one of my medicines, and I went weeks without it, and I am still paying the price for it. And I'm like crying when I'm telling her
so
this.
You're like, she's feeling all the emotions.
I'm like, how many times are you going to do this to me where I have to, you know, like go off of a medicine that I know works for me because who'd made that decision?
Right.
I was like, I have been with your company, you know, granted this is in a different department or whatever because I switched to Anthony's insurance, but I have been with your actual insurance company since I've had insurance.
Right. Like, go back in the notes, sweetheart.
I was like, so do you see my medical file? Do you see all the conditions I have? She goes, well, the person who denies the medicine doesn't have access to your medical records.
Well,
I was like, what?
Oh my gosh.
I was like, you have got to be kidding me. I go, who do I talk to? She goes, well, we're just like the retail pharmacy. I was like, who do I talk to at the top to talk about this overarching problem of your screwing with my life? I was like, I am trying to have a baby right now.
Yeah.
My health needs to be in check. I want to know who I talk to about the absurdity of this situation. She goes, well, I can give you the name of like the regional office for New York. I was like, give it to me. So she gives me the phone number for that.
Okay.
So that phone call is happening next week.
Okay.
And she goes, also, if you want, she's like, I can give you like the P.O. box for the people who make these, like, I forget what it's called, but it's like the people who make the dosage decisions. I was like, give me that too. I'm writing them a letter.
Good for you. My blood is boiling for you. This doesn't even make any sense.
It's Famota. It is Pepsid AC. What?
And the whole thing about the dosage, that doesn't even, I can't even understand that. You could see the opposite where they wouldn't cover, more, like what?
And like, could I take the easy road and just have my doctor write me 40 milligrams and cut the tablet in half? Yes, but no. Refuse. I absolutely refuse.
Those hormones are pumping through you and you are going to get it done.
That makes my life, that is an extra step that I have to take that is so unnecessary.
Right, that you don't need.
And you know what the worst part is? Before they messed with my heartburn medicine, I had weaned myself off of the famotidine. But they messed with the heartburn medicine, and now I need all of the things to get back to baseline, which I'm still not at yet. That's how long it's taking my body to readjust.
Right. And it's like time is not on your side. Like you need to make sure that you're getting things in check so that you can have the perfect environment for your baby to grow. I'm so proud of you for getting on there and articulating how you were feeling, because that comes down to advocating for ourselves, right?
Don't give up.
Yeah, don't give up. And it's okay to get emotional and to show how you're feeling, because those emotions probably conveyed her to give you that P.O. box.
Well, and I said to her, I go like, I get that this is about money for you guys, but this is about my life for me. So let's talk about what's more important.
Right. And it comes down to like, we're humans, like living this, like trying to live your best life and feel good.
Yes.
And it's one little pill and a certain dosage.
Oh my God. I'm going to wait till I have a flare and drive to the Blue Cross Blue Shield office and just throw up all over their office every 20 minutes and see how they like it. Be like, keep denying my medicine. Here's more barf.
Leave the poopery at home.
Oh my God.
Oh, Rome, I'm so sorry you're going through that. So frustrating. But I'm channeling all the good vibes for you. We're going to get this done.
We're going to get it done.
We're going to get it done.
What's your thorn?
All right. Well, sometimes I struggle to find thorns, and this week I have 2.
Oh boy. Okay. Hit me with them.
Okay, let me start first with the colonoscopy prep.
Okay. So if you've been there, you're like, yep.
Okay, so it's been 6 years since I've had a colonoscopy, and I've had maybe 5 or 6 in my life. And obviously I'm going through a little flare thing right now where we're trying to figure out what's going on. So Goldstein, my gastro, orders my, colonoscopy. And I actually was meeting with the PA at their office, who I absolutely love. And so she's like, all right, Lauren, let's talk prep. I'm like, I'm a Miralax girl. Give it to me. She's like, well, there are some new options. I'm like, ooh, all right. So she's like, the pills, not good for you with, echolalia, to try to swallow those and get those working in your system in a timely manner wouldn't be a good fit. But she's like, oh, we have this new one that I personally love. They're 2 drinks. That's it. I'm like, 2 drinks? That's it? She's like, yeah. I'm like, sign me up. Because with the Miralax prep.
It's a lot of drinks.
Yes. If you're listening out there and you've done it, it's just a lot of liquid and it just doesn't always taste the best, no matter what you're mixing it with, right? Like Miralax, when you take just 1 dose, I feel like you can't really taste it.
You're putting a whole bottle
in
like a bottle of Gatorade. Disgusting.
The size of the Miralax bottle is like, yes, it's thick, and the size of the Miralax bottle is like the size of your head. So it's just like that. So I'm like, all right, I'm all excited, but then well, as you guys know, last week I was swinging on the other side, and I was having a lot of constipation, and something is just up with my colon, and I was not in the best space. So I was feeling a little nervous about this prep, because at this point I haven't gone to the bathroom in 4 days, because I had my endoscopy prior and I had my stretching, and the anesthesia, the twilight stuff, it kind of messes with your digestive tract. So she gives me the bottles. I get home with them and I'm like sweating. Like I had to take an anxiety pill because I was so nervous about what this was going to do because it's these 2 little baby bottles. And I'm like, what is happening? And I'm thinking about all the poop that's like in me for 4 days. I'm like, I'm someone who goes multiple times a day. I was just like, so I took an anxiety pill, poured the cocktail. I sent Room a picture of this. I drank the drink, and what was happening internally was like a war. It was a war, and my stomach, I honestly thought it was going to pop, right?
Your belly looked like you were pregnant with Connor again.
I'm going to post it and share it. If you guys follow us on social media, you're going to get the visual of this. It was insane, and it was so hard. And Sean's like, it's growing before my eyes. And I'm like, then I'm like panicking. I'm like, the drink's not going to work. Something's happening. And then I was just in full panic mode. I drank this at 7 o'clock.
At night.
I did not go to the bathroom until 3 a.m.
Right. And you're rolling around in pain.
I'm rolling around in pain. I already don't feel good. I've watched like 55 episodes of I don't even know what. I'm like binge watching.
Emily in Paris.
I don't even binge watch shows. I'm binge watching the show. Like I was a mess. So I finally went. It was not good. I only went 3 times.
Wow.
Slept for an hour, got up, and then... Yep, there it was all morning I was going. And my appointment was at 1:45. So it was just like a really long, drawn out process where the Miralax, it's like you got it and you're just going and then you kind of are done, right? And you go to bed, you wake up, you go to your appointment.
See, it's the opposite for me. Miralax
didn't work for you, right? But when we realized you did the double drink before too, right?
I did, but a different brand or version. And that worked really well for me.
Yeah. And you went right away, right after?
No, I think it was...
Was it a little bit,
It was
too?
a little bit, yeah.
Yeah, so just, I'm going to forewarn everyone out there who's on the track to get a colonoscopy soon, really, really think about your options.
Yeah, research
and talk to
your
your
options.
doctor. Yeah, because yes, it was less to drink, but then it was just a more painful experience.
Yeah.
So that was my thorn. It was really, and then I'm already not feeling good, right? It's like, I just wanted to get to my appointment and take my anesthesia nap.
I know, right? Sad when that's what you're looking forward to.
Yeah, so that was my one thorn. And my other thorn was I had to put $800 into my car. I didn't tell you this.
Oh, yikes.
Did I tell you this?
No.
I didn't tell you this. Yeah. I had to get my inspection and $800 worth of tires. But you know what? Where we live in Rochester, New York, and the weather and the snow, I could have just put 2 on, but I'm like, you know what? Safety is no accident. And
It's no joke right now. You know how I stalk the weatherman, and he's saying we're about to hit the actual 2 worst weeks of winter. And after everything we've been through, it's hard to wrap our head around that because it's been a bad winter.
Yes.
So.
Yeah. So, I am ready. It was really hard to swipe that card, but I did it. And it was just one of those where you're like, I was hoping not for maybe like 400.
You have a long
800.
drive to work. It's better to be safe.
Right. Exactly. I'm really driving like 80 to 90 minutes a day.
Yeah.
So those are my 2 thorns.
I hate
thorns.
Oh
All right. Let's do some roses.
So this is a tough week for me. And I think when I sat down to think about my rose, I was like, I really don't have one this week. And I want to point out that is okay. Sometimes you just have a week that's hard. And all the things I said in my thorn, really, the hormones are getting to me. Mm-hmm. I am at the end of this priming cycle and should be getting a period any day now. So I'm anticipating the start of all of my Sims and the egg retrieval. And I'm not a good unknown person. I like to map things out in advance.
You need your plan.
So I'm living in the unknown. My hormones are crazy. Work is really stressful right now. I need an iron infusion. It's just when everything hits at once, sometimes it's just hard to find. I just feel like the whole week was just get through and survive kind of. Mm-hmm. But I was there's got to be something that was positive for me. And it ended up being I had a therapy session with my therapist last night. And I haven't talked to her since before we found out our IUI didn't work.
Oh, so it's been you had a serious catch up with her.
We had a really serious catch up, and she just validated that what I'm going through with just the hormones alone is enough to make someone go over the edge. And then so many things just happened in January. First that loss, and then just a bunch of other stuff happened, and it was just a lot for me to carry. Yeah. And it was so nice talking to her, and she did give me some strategies because I said to her, I'm living on the edge of rage. I can go from 0 to 100 fast. And she told me this, and actually so did my psychiatrist, plunge a body part in cold water.
Oh, okay. And you love the whole circuit thing.
I
You've
do,
talked about
but
that
I'm also,
before.
I run really cold. And that's risky for me. But she was like, it will immediately just shut those sensors off. She's like, if you can get your face in, that's the best thing to put in water.
So you're like putting your head like in a bucket or like just in a cold shower?
Fill your sink up with water. My psychiatrist did say a cold shower is the best thing to do. But if you can't, she was like, either your face, your hands, or your feet. And it will just, you're still going to feel angry, but it's going to cut off that like, I need to have an outburst.
Yes. I love that. What a great strategy.
Haven't tried it yet, but she also sent me this thing about like ear massage, and it does something with your vagal nerve, but she wasn't sure how it would work for me because my vagal nerve is broken. So, but it was just really nice. And she knows me really well, and she's able to like really just kind of talk me off a ledge sometimes. And I felt like I just needed that last night. So that was my rose.
I love it. And I feel like I really love her.
You don't even know her anymore.
I don't even know her,
she
but
knows
I feel
you
like,
though.
I know. And I feel like if we were to meet, I'd be like, I love you. You help my friend so much.
Well, she always said, she's like, I feel like I know room.
Oh, I love it. Okay, that just made me, before I share my rose, made me think when you said rage. Have you ever heard of rage on the page?
No.
As a strategy? So Gabby Bernstein talks about this, and basically it's like when you're, same thing, like you're feeling all the rage, and like instead of putting your hand in like cold water, she's like, rage on the page, like just write it out or type it out and just do it and just get it all out there. And then I don't know if this came from her or not. And then you like set it on fire. Like literally, and it's so freeing. So I may have done this one time in my backyard.
Okay, good. At least it wasn't in the house.
Right. And I like did all the rage on the page, and I was like setting it on fire over our fire pit, and I'm like releasing it and having this moment. And my neighbor was like, Lauren, hey, and trying to chat with me. I'm like, I'm trying to release my rage right now over my fire pit. Stop calling my name. I'm like, yes, Bonnie.
Oh my God. I
love our old neighbors.
I might try this. Write it down and just go open the grill.
Yes.
Set it on fire.
It's just something like really, I don't know. And it came from Gabby. So just another sharing these techniques with you, strategies with you guys.
I'm going to need one. And, until that period comes, I'm feeling pretty ragey.
So when you're out on your patio over a flame, Anthony's going to know what's happening.
I'll call him at work and be like, I set the patio on fire. All right, Room, what's your rose?
All right, so I feel like I don't want to rub it in.
I'm just looking at it, I'm like, you got to be kidding me.
Okay, so here's another Gabby Bernstein thing, that when people around you are doing things or having things that you really want, it means you're next. So like the more you keep seeing it. So like when I was house hunting and I was looking, everybody kept finding houses and I wasn't. Or when I was pregnant and I was like due any day now and 10 days late, everybody around me was having babies. Yes. And instead of feeling frustrated about it, just know that, that means I'm next. It's a sign that you're next in line. So my rose is my iron infusion. I did get it. I'm really sorry, Rose. This means you're next.
This means I got to be next.
But I do have to tell you, because it's going to be your first iron infusion, right? Mm-hmm. So when you go, I highly recommend going to the Thompson Infusion Center in Canandaigua. They are incredible. Like I can't even describe how wonderful they are. Like you go, you check in, they've got snacks, they've got drinks, they've got heated blankets, they've got warm packs, they've got cold packs, anything you need. They have the TV on, there's music, everybody's happy. They plug you up or not plug you up, but
IV,
set the IV up and you get all cozy. It runs for 20 minutes and then they keep you for 30 minutes to see how you do after, make sure you're not having a reaction. And then they send you on your way. And it was just like a really just nice experience. So
I'm so happy for you.
This means your next Room.
Means I'm next. If this means I'm seeing things, everyone's getting pregnant. So this has to mean I'm going to be pregnant soon.
Yes.
I'm happy for all of you, but I'm also sick of seeing it.
Yeah, but it's true. It's just like a little confirmation of the more you start to see it, that means you're getting closer.
All right.
Anybody else out there have another iron infusion?
Yeah, seriously. Send it my way. All right, so before we jump into things, we wanted to do our shout out.
Yes.
And we wanted to shout out our listeners in the UK, specifically Brentwood. You guys have been consistent, and we genuinely appreciate you tuning in every week from so far away.
Yes, we so appreciate it. And
we made a joke. When we go on tour, you guys will be our first stop.
Yes, Brentwood, here we come.
All right, Rome, you got quite a big one to dive into today. So why don't you get us started here?
Yes. All right. Well, in the words of the great gastroenterologist who ever lived, Dr. Kim. I'm going to focus on my crazy colon. So I've talked about my spastic colon in the past that can kind of, rear its ugly head from time to time. But I didn't know pain until I experienced the twisting, cramping pain that is diverticulitis. So this was years ago. This was not anything recent. And if you've ever had diverticulitis before, you know that it is wildly painful and can come on pretty fast. I was experiencing pain similar to that years ago, but my CAT scan when I went showed diverticulosis. So there's like a difference. And I'm going to break it down for you.
Yeah, because
did you know this?
No, and not until you said anything. So.
Yes. So here's the difference between the two. So diverticulosis is very common. It's a common condition that can develop in your colon, especially as you get older. And it just means that these little pouches form in the inside lining of your colon, and they usually do not cause any problems, but rarely they may bleed or develop an infection, which is called diverticulitis. So diverticulitis then is that infection. So it's one of your diverticula becomes inflamed, and it can cause that acute sharp pain, burning, comes on quick, and can even cause bleeding. So let's go back to diverticulosis. So they develop when the lining of your intestines kind of pushes into weak spots in the outer wall. So this can kind of happen over time. And like if you think about when you eat food and you're digesting food, and food waste kind of is making its way through your intestines each day, it pushes against any weak spots you have, like in your colon, and eventually they begin to cave in. So that's kind of how it forms. So that diverticulosis diverticulosis comes from the word divert, which I thought this was so interesting once I started really researching it. So it's indicating that the path through your intestines is diverging into these side pockets.
Wow.
Diverging, diverticulitis.
Okay.
Like, right?
I love that.
I'm like, this makes I'm such a visual person.
Yeah.
Now I'm like, so that's what was going on in there. So they most commonly occur in large intestines, which is more likely to have, denser food waste pushing against those weak spots. And most people don't have symptoms from diverticulosis alone. You'll honestly likely never notice it at all. And it is possible to have symptoms as a side effect of another disease in your intestines that make your diverticula kind of more sensitive to pressure. So like, for example, like you have IBS, right? Or someone who has inflammatory bowel disease, or just food waste kind of processing through your diverticula may cause tenderness or bloating. And if you're, prone to constipation, impacted stool may get stuck in the pockets.
Ooh, yucky.
Right? And it can make things worse. Or if you have a spastic colon.
Which we know you do.
Which we know my colon is crazy. So about 10% of people with diverticulosis may have some bleeding from it as well. And it can happen, if hard stool is trying to pass through and kind of stretches a blood vessel until it breaks.
Okay.
And it's usually temporary. It can be painless. But if it happens, you might see fresh blood in your poop.
So bright red blood.
It's like boom. So years ago, I experienced something along these lines, and I took antibiotics to clear things up. But more recently, that I've been sharing, I'm going through this, just navigating this flare of what is happening. And I was having pain that was completely debilitating, that twisting, turning, cramping pain. And I thought it was my normal colon spasms until I saw that blood. So when I went to the bathroom, and it was like reddish brown, but like red, like fresh blood. And it was scary when I saw it. And that led me to get, that CAT scan that looked good, which was great. But it did show that I have diverticulosis throughout my colon. So I have them, but they weren't saying they were like inflamed or anything. I had my endoscopy where things looked great. I had my stretching, and then my colonoscopy, and then I actually had a Doppler ultrasound as well. So colonoscopy looked good. And what after my colonoscopy, Goldstein was basically like thinking, because I haven't bled again since that instance. So thinking the bleeding either came from diverticulitis. Did I have it? Was it a diverticulosis when I was struggling when I was constipated,
and
doing my
the enema bucket?
Right.
Yeah.
Did something push up against something? And then, who knows how or what I was bleeding. So we think it could have been that. Or they also found some, I know it's super gross, but some lovely hemorrhoids in there.
I mean, been there, done that.
Right. And they're painful. And they were not anything I was realizing was going on, but so that could have been where bleeding comes from. So sharing all of this, if you are experiencing, that twisting, cramping, almost like you're like twisting a rope, like that could be
wringing out a dishcloth.
Yes. And it's honestly an easy fix. Of a lot of times you can kind of just pass it like I did. The bleeding happened, and then probably my colon was spasming in response, and then kind of things settle down. But sometimes you may need, antibiotics. So who knows? But at least I don't have to do another colonoscopy for 10 years.
Cheers. If I had a drink right now, cheers to that.
Yeah. So that is the whole little diverticulitis versus diverticulosis. But the last thing I wanted to share, which I have to ask you, Room, have you ever had an ultrasound, a Doppler ultrasound of your abdomen?
No.
Right? Me either.
Yeah.
Okay. So going through the process, we didn't know when my colonoscopy was going to be. So my doctor was like, let's get this ultrasound to check and see what's going on. So with my anemia and, the bleeding, he wanted to see what was happening with just like overall blood flow. So basically it's called an abdominal Doppler ultrasound, and it's a diagnostic imaging test that uses sound waves to create images of the abdominal organs and blood vessels. So it is used to kind of assess the blood flow, specifically like the speed and the direction in the abdomen, and kind of detect any abnormalities. And it can diagnose various conditions. So isn't that so interesting? So you can have a CAT scan that's normal, a colonoscopy that's normal, an endoscopy that's normal, because it may have to do with blood flow and how it's getting to your different organs. It was so not
fantasizing. Fantastic. Was it glorious?
It was glorious. It was glorious reading about this, because it gave me okay, this could be, helping me to uncover what was going on, and maybe not. Maybe it's going to be normal, and it really was just like a diverticulitis thing. But stay tuned. I literally just had my ultrasound yesterday, super fast, and she was real tight-lipped. She didn't, sometimes the text can sometimes slip a little.
Yeah, no.
Nope, not yesterday.
Well, now I can't wait to hear the results of this. Yeah, I'm just curious.
Yeah, how's that blood flowing? We're about to find out. Yeah,
I want one.
Right?
Just to see what's going on down there.
Yeah. Hey, you know what? I should have brought you with me.
I know.
Because you could have watched the screen. Because she turned the screen away from me.
I know. I hate when they do that.
I know. But so that was me. So stay tuned for the ultrasound results. Hopefully by next episode.
Hope.
Yeah. All right, Rome. Okay. I just want to, before you even start to share, we talked about this before.
Yeah.
And right after we had a great interview with the boys.
Yes.
Right? We had this
spouse support.
It was almost like your body was like, let's test Anthony's spouse support.
Sure.
How was Anthony tested that Sunday into Monday after we recorded?
Yeah, pretty intensely tested. So I talked a little bit in our very first episode about a condition called vasovagal syncope. And I touched on it really fast. We were kind of just introducing ourselves and the things we've experienced throughout our life. But I actually started having these episodes in college. So I was about 19, 20 years old when they first started. And the first one I told everyone, for those of you who may not have listened, was I fell out of a stand-up tanning bed. And I remember waking up, looking around, what just happened? And I never thought anything of it.
Right.
Nothing happened after that. The second one, though, I fell down the cement staircase in our college union, and they had to call an ambulance. And I had our sorority letters on, and everybody made a big deal. And that's the one where you called my mom and she drove in half the time from home to college and because they like laid me flat on my back. I wasn't feeling good. And she's like, you set her up right now. Like my mom came charging in there.
Tony gets it done.
She really does. My third big one happened. I was home from college. I was in the shower and I woke up to my mom standing above me, slapping me across the face. So I'm naked in the shower. My mom's, Stephanie, wake up. She was downstairs and she heard me fall in the shower.
Oh
like I
gosh.
just passed out.
And you have no memory of
None.
it. You just like were showering and next you were awake to your mother slapping you in the face.
Yes. It stayed bad like that for a while. I also had one I was standing at the sink in my the house, I grew up in the kitchen, and I fell backwards and hit my head on the tile floor. And for that one, my grandma was in the house next, she had an attached house. She heard me and came running. I ended up having to go to the hospital for that one because of how hard I hit my head on the tile floor.
Right, that was so scary.
Straight tile.
Oh my gosh.
So they did stay like that for a while, and I've had ones where I'm just like, boom, down, out.
Yes.
I come to and I'm like, what just happened? I have no idea what just happened.
But you do kind of get like a little glimmer, like right?
Well, they've evolved over time. But before I get into that, I want to just quick talk about what vasovagal syncope is. So it's just a medical term for a common type of fainting that occurs when the body overreacts to certain triggers, like seeing blood or extreme stress or lots of other things. But it causes a sudden drop in heart rate and blood pressure, which is leads to a temporary loss of consciousness. Essentially, it's a common faint. So it's triggered by the vagus nerve, which isn't it interesting that I've been having these since I was 19, 20, but my vagus nerve wasn't damaged until I was,
oh my goodness,
in 2017, which was not that long ago.
Yes.
So, leads me to think maybe I have also had some vagal problems prior.
Oh, this is like a huge light bulb moment, I feel like, right? Okay.
Yeah. So
keep going.
There is no classical trigger, but common ones are standing for long periods of time, which I do remember when they first diagnosed me, they told me you can't really wait in lines for long. You have to find ways to sit down. Heat exposure, seeing blood, that doesn't do it for me. Having blood drawn, same thing. Fear of bodily injury, I could care less. Straining to have a bowel movement, yeah, I've been on the verge of it before. Typically for me, the trigger is heat, hence why it happens a lot when I'm in the shower. Or standing at a kitchen sink doing dishes where it's hot water on my hands and the steam, yeah. So symptoms before you faint, you might experience pale skin, lightheadedness, tunnel vision, nausea, feeling warm, being cold and clammy, or having blurred vision. And diagnosing it it's not, you have to go through a couple of tests. Basically, you start with a physical exam and they do your blood pressure and listen to your heart or whatever. But to actually get the diagnosis, you have to do an electrocardiogram, which I've done, which is just... It's a test that records the electric signals your heart produces, and it can detect irregular heart rhythms and other cardiac problems. And I did, do the thing where I had to wear a portable monitor, and I actually have a picture of me hooked up to this monitor that I had to wear for a day. They do an echocardiogram, so that's an ultrasound image to your heart and look for valve problems. I never had to do the exercise stress test, which I'm sure if they made me, I would faint. Definitely,
you definitely would have. I've done those before, and they're like, get on the treadmill, and they're like, run.
They'd be like, yep, you've got it. Obviously, they do blood tests, but they do a tilt table, which I have done.
Okay, tell me more.
So you lay flat on a table, and they strap your legs and your arms and your chest to a table. So
like
you're
a
laying
Frankenstein
down.
thing.
Like a Frankenstein thing, yeah. And then the table just starts to go up, and they just kind of slowly change the position of the table until you're fully standing. The first time I ever did it, I instantly went down. So it was just that change of position. And they were you just were whoa. I just flopped. Good thing I was strapped in.
Floppy fish.
The second time I did it, which was many, many years later, I felt the blackout coming, and I tried to fight it. So she was you were it's coming, it's coming, it's coming. And I did end up fainting, but I knew I was going to.
Right. So this is kind of how it's evolved for you.
The first one. Yeah. So treatment is hard. I mean, I tried a medicine, but like it's such an instant thing. Like the medicine didn't do anything. It's not like I could like feel one coming on and take a pill.
Right.
You know what
the time
I mean?
you digested
it. Get the pill out, access juice to take it. Like that would be a little crazy. Like therapies, which compression stocks do help sometimes. Like that's one thing I've noticed. But for me, the biggest thing is having a lot of salt in my diet. I always have low blood pressure as it is. So like when this happens, my blood pressure drops even lower than it normally is. So as much salt as I can have in my diet, the better. And for me, sugar helps as well. Like typically if I have one, I'll like, you know, Anthony, I need some juice. Like I'll just bring juice.
Get the juice.
So that always helps. But this is how mine have evolved over time. I can now recognize the signs in my body. So I start to feel really loopy and lightheaded. Like I feel like I'm walking like on like clouds or something. Okay. Like I don't really know how to describe it. My vision kind of goes in and out. Not necessarily tunnel vision, but it's like
spacey almost.
I can see things in weird angles. I get really clammy. Like my skin starts to get clammy and I almost start to get sweaty. I start to feel that like unsteadiness on my feet. I feel nauseous and my mouth waters.
Okay.
When this happens, I get right down on the ground. I feel it coming instantly and I get down to prevent it because I know I call them blackouts because I know I'm going to lose my vision for 5 seconds. So I actually have to like usually warn all the staff I work with because it has happened to me in school before. And I'll never forget the one time it happened. I was teaching in the city and I felt it coming. I was in the middle of teaching math and I just like got down to the carpet and had the blackout. And like my 3 students cried for like the rest of the day. And we had to really talk it out. But
yeah, I've witnessed it. Like you are like, and she's down. Like it is not a gradual thing. We are hitting the floor hard.
Yeah, it's really, really fast. And it tends to happen to me in the bathroom. Like I'm either in the shower or first thing in the morning. So not on the weekends. The weekends I listen to my body and I sleep until my body is ready to get up and I'm fine. But on work days, I find that like my body is not quite ready to be out of that sleep system. And sometimes the first thing I do is like wash my face.
Yeah.
And that's when it happens.
Right.
So
that makes sense because you said the heat, the warmth, right?
So I had an episode this past Monday.
Yes.
And this was literally right after we interviewed Anthony and Sean about spouse support. And I got up, I was fine, walked to the bathroom, washed my face. All of a sudden I'm standing there, I'm like, oh boy, here one comes. So I just got down on the ground.
Right.
But I got down on the ground and I waited like 5 seconds. I opened my eyes. I couldn't see anything.
That is so scary.
So I yelled. I'm like, Anthony, something is really wrong. So he comes running upstairs.
Thank goodness he was still home.
Yeah. And he kind of lifts me up because I'm like on my knees with my face on the ground. So he lifts me up. The second he lifts me up into a seated position, I have the most intense esophageal spasm ever. And it was intense and painful, but it was fast.
Oh,
like normally they come and go for like 5 to 10 minutes. This one was like 2. And so after it happened, I opened my eyes again and I could see bits and pieces, but I had these huge black holes in my vision. So like I couldn't fully see anything.
Yeah.
And it was just very different for me. And I have some theories on that, but that continued. So Anthony stood me up. He walked me back to the bed. And I'm laying in bed and I'm like, I can't even text my staff to tell them I can't come in today. So he texted them. I'm like, I can't go on my computer and put in for a day off of work. So Anthony had to text my vice principal and be like, Steph's not going to make it in today. Like, and that stayed like that. Like he brought me some Gatorade. I drank a little bit of Gatorade. I still could not see. So I was like, I'm just going to sleep. Because for me, sleep fixes everything.
Right. So smart.
So that was probably around 6:30. I slept until about 11.
Wow, like that your body needed it.
But throughout that 6:30 to 11, I would wake up, open my eyes, still had those huge black spots in my vision.
So scary.
But when I finally around 11:30-ish, like I was seeing things fully. I had a headache though.
Yes. Even when you were telling me this, my first thing was like, almost sounds like a migraine. If you have ever had a migraine before, that aura that you get, and it can mess with your vision. But that usually you get like the headache first. And so you didn't have a headache in the morning at all.
No.
This came like later on.
So my theory, I talked about this with my therapist. She's on the same, she's thinking the same thing as me. She said the same thing as you too. Like it sounds like you almost had a vasovagal syncope episode tied in with a little bit of a migraine, because that can happen. But she's like, because I think of the situation you're in with these hormones that you're on, and your body needs to have a period, but because the medicines you're on are preventing that from happening, your body's in this like tango, and it just doesn't know what to do with itself.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I think that's why this happened. Obviously, if this ever happens again, I'm going to go see a doctor.
Right.
I didn't go see one on Monday because I was okay after that. And there's a large spider behind me.
We have to do P for pause. She's talking, and Anthony just swooped in. There is this long
yellow spider.
Anthony, he got it. The long spider.
I just had a heart attack.
I can't even talk. We just both had a heart attack. There we go. He's gonna crush it. Room's like so into telling the story, and I just caught.
I just see her face, and I'm like, something really bad is happening.
But the like webby part that it was coming down from was all
right.
shiny. Okay, we are okay. The spider is now dead. Thank you, Anthony. Yes. Spider saver or spider killer. Go ahead, Rome.
Anyways, I didn't go to the doctor on Monday because vasovagal syncope episodes are normal for me. This was just an abnormal manifestation of it. I was fine after. I was fine the next day. I've been fine the rest of the week. If it happens again, I will go see a doctor. I know everybody was very concerned, and I do appreciate like all the concern, but I just got to throw this out there. Anthony was so quick to be like, he's like, I'm calling it to work. Like as soon as he even recognized that it was different. There was something very different about this episode. So he called into work. He made my Gatorade. He obviously like called into work for me. He texted my team. He told them all about switching the ELA lessons from Monday to Tuesday. Like he was reading text messages aloud to me from you and Jamie.
I know. So I'm like at work at my desk, and I'm like, hey, I'm reading through our text thread, and it's like, hey, this is Anthony responding for Stef. I'm like, what is happening?
Yeah, I mean, like he made me French fries for lunch.
There you go, Husband of the Year award, Anthony. So you're getting it.
He took really, really good care of me on Monday, so he really stepped up to the plate with this one.
I love it. He was ready for it.
Yeah,
he was ready for it. Well, I'm glad you're feeling better, Rome. That was so scary.
You too, man. We both had a rough couple of weeks.
I know, we really have, and I'm ready to be on the other side of it.
Me too. Very ready.
Yes. All right. Well, that's all we have for you guys today. Yeah. So thank you for listening. We, of course, really appreciate any likes or follows and reviews wherever you listen to your podcasts.
And you can find us at I've Got Guts Podcast on Facebook and Instagram. And you can email us at I'veGotGutsPodcast@gmail.com.
We'll see you next time.
Bye.
Bye.